and thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to the Cartoon Pad. In this show, we're going to be answering questions. Actually, I'm going to just get one question out of the way right now. Is something I've been asked the last couple of months is, where has the podcast been? And Michael was boycotting Spotify. And my psychiatrist was recommending I take a break from Michael.
I have a question, Bob.
Shoot.
Where have all the flowers gone?
What was that question?
Have all the flowers gone?
Oh, this is your musical interlude.
This is Michael Shaw, who's has a neck injury, and he's
yes. I have a growth.
It.
I have a growth on my neck.
Yes. Let's please explain. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. This is my cat Buttercup, who enjoys sitting on my neck, and Buttercup has sat on my neck so long that I now have cat neck, which is like cat.
Really, why your neck is up? Is it because
I don't know. Who knows why? It's age. It's a combination of things.
Okay.
But I don't know the combination, so I can't.
Your cartooning schedule.
Ooh, you vocoded on me there, Marty.
Yeah,
am I off?
You did some kind of special effects. Can you do that for all of us?
Yes.
We feel left out.
You sounded like Cher there for a second.
I don't know what you're talking about because it's me if it's an error. So.
Right. Oh no, this does not. A bad neck does not affect the quality of my cartooning. No.
Okay.
And the main thing we established is that we all brought a B game.
Yes.
To what? This?
Yeah. Okay.
My C+ game.
No, but we've all had some injuries the last couple of months. We all had some stuff that we were dealing with. I had gotten COVID. I have also gotten
twice.
I got a torn rotor cuff, and that was from using a heavy pen nib. And I've been taking physical therapy since, and special diet, acupuncture, and a whole bunch of other things. It would be easier for me to explain what I'm not having done. And so we were away for a while, but it's great to be back.
Bob, I think you'd look a lot better after all that treatment.
Thank you. Now that's just the video thing. Marty's going to do this in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it in post. I'll do one of those reface things and make him look just fantastic. We'll add some glitter and
I wonder
all
if we
kinds
look
of shiny
older
stuff.
since the last time we were on. Sorry. We look about the same.
You guys look the same.
We look the same, unfortunately. Marty, maybe we could also encourage and explain to the audience that they could live chat questions as we're doing the show. We're going to do it for like an hour, but you want to explain that?
Wherever they're watching, people can watch on Twitch. They can watch on Facebook. They can watch on YouTube. And I think they can watch on LinkedIn and Twitter. So we are simulcasting this presently. So if anyone's watching and they have a chat thingy in whatever platform they're talking to, you can write in the comments wherever you are, and we'll see it, and we'll put it up on the screen. And that can be a question that for the cartoonists. So if you guys have any cartooning questions for people that are authors, New Yorker cartoonists, anything, how to be a cat wrangler, how to balance a cat on the back of your neck, any
Safely.
questions like that, put them in the chat, and we'll put them up on the screen. And Bob and Shaw will answer your questions. And before we did the live show, we had people submit questions ahead of time on the Facebook.
Right.
So we have those questions to go through too. But what are you guys working on right now? And what is your current submission schedule for the magazine stuff? So do you guys both have a batch together for the New Yorker for this week or this month, or how does it work?
No, Marty. No, we don't.
No, Michael, seriously. Michael,
seriously,
you are submitting, aren't you?
I got an email that there's no meeting, so there's no batches due. So
well, that's true. So what happened was there's a sabbatical at the New Yorker, but a lot of people will continue doing their batches anyway and just kind of stockpile. You're not doing
I never stockpile. Stockpiling leads to stale inventory. You don't want to stockpile.
Well, I did some cartoon.
You want it as fresh.
I wound up sending them elsewhere. I submitted to the other
Cat
place.
Fancier.
Cat Fancy, Apathy Magazine.
Okay.
I sent it
Sir.
to Airmail. Sir.
Airmail. They pick up a lot of good cartoons at Airmail.
Right.
Swank.
That Bob
trying-
that Bob Mankoff's over there at the Airmail. Lots of funny stuff. I see a lot of Lars. I see Lars there sometimes. I see Ivan there sometimes. They pick up a lot of good cartoons. I think I've seen one of my favorite, Jeff Hobbs. He's been in there a couple times.
Oh my problem with Airmail is the pages are so thin because
it's like they're not even there.
It's like onion skin. You can see right through it.
It's like it's just an email or something.
I know. There's no air.
Instead of calling it Airmail, they should just call it email.
Well, it's got this retro feel, except it, and it does look rather retro. But
you know what that's from, right?
Yeah, I do.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's full from Graydon Carter's his own magazine, Spy Magazine. It's a sister of that. It's all a carryover. He's carried over the same sensibilities and same design sense. It's the same look. It's really nice.
I've learned something here. Thanks, Bob.
We should mention.
So you were in Spy. You were a Spy guy.
I was a major contributor. I did a few hundred pieces there.
Did you actually get paid? I heard they never paid anyone.
No, it was tough.
You guys are always trying to start stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we got to stir the pot here, man.
We don't have to stir any pots. We can just have a regular pot.
No, I worked for them, and I wrote for them, and I illustrated, and I was not doing gag cartoons for them because I had not done gag cartoons at that time. I did that much later, and I did it only at the tail end of Spy's life. They closed down too early.
What was Spy all about? Because I think Spy was before I was really into any sort of publications. But I know that Spy was kind of like an iteration of what New York Magazine / Vulture / all of those, Gawker, what all those kind of websites do. But it was all just in one magazine where it was critiques and it was art and it was cartoons and it was like, is that what it was?
No, well, it was always humor. It didn't have serious critiques.
Oh, they didn't have any articles that weren't humor? Okay.
It wasn't like it had an AV club that the Onion has. This was straightforward mocking and parodying the paparazzi's targets, whether it's a celebrity, politicians, whatever. They were always trying to knock down the big names. And so that was their niche. But
I enjoyed Spy, and what I liked about it was the minutia of its content. It would have these little subscripts that were like 7-point type. And you read them at your own
in New York, or was that a UK thing?
It was in New York. I remember one time an assignment was given to me to follow up on Michael's comment. They asked me to do portraits of William F. Buckley, and they wanted to use it for a chart and use it as icons. So they asked me to draw 40 different faces of him, and they said, do it the size of a pencil eraser. And I did it something that was like the size of a penny, and then we shrunk it down half the size, and we used it that way. So Michael's right. In the margins, their sort of their thing was always have these microscopic type of type. You needed a magnifying glass to follow it.
It was my favorite part of the magazine. It was like Sergio Aragonis in Mad Magazine. I would just get a Mad Magazine and look at the borders and just read the circuitous little comments that kind of went up and down the edge of the paper.
A lot of people I worked for there went on to really big things, and they show up on TV and then in the New Yorker and other places. But that group there was pretty big. It's that magazine that I met Gilbert Gottfried, who was working there, and they would have like house parties where the performer was They Might Be Giants,
that's fun.
And they were classmates of mine. I was friends with John at Pratt Institute. We were classmates, and it was this real small intergroup that kind of exploded later. I saw them all over in different ways. Not that I kept in touch with all of them, but they were all very successful and talented and
You
great.
should have kept in touch, Bob. Then you'd be talking to someone other than us at this moment.
Well, believe
I know,
me,
really.
I'd like to.
I mean,
I would like to keep in touch with them, like Kurt Anderson and Graydon Carter. If I ran into them now, they would not recognize me. But that's what happens when you're dealing with hundreds of people all over the place.
yeah, but you still got your hair, so they would recognize you.
Okay, Bob has to tell his famous Donald Trump check story now.
Oh, I will, but first, I wish Marty could cut that part out about my haircut. I'm still hurting about this.
We are doing this live. That means I am not
cut this
editing.
part. I went to
I'm editing no
Supercuts,
part of this.
and I broke up with my hairdresser.
Your hair looks good. What are you talking about?
It is not good. It's cut way too short for my liking. I told him not to cut it too short.
It'll grow back.
Okay.
You know, Bob, you really do have a generous forehead at this moment.
Well, I know this.
There's a lot of forehead there for us all to share.
I told you not to bring this up.
You could land a small aircraft on your forehead, I think.
So quickly, I'll get it. I'll change the subject. Okay. I was involved in Spy's most famous story. I did the piece with where they gave checks of like 5 cents or 3 cents to celebrities like Cher and Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump and Cher and these big names cashed the checks to show how cheap they were.
And how much was the check for? $1, 1 cent?
I think for Donald Trump, it was a nickel.
Nice.
It was a nickel. And I was just working on the piece, just cranking out pieces. I worked on every issue, and I didn't know we'd get any traction. But next thing you knew, it was on like NBC4 and other TV shows picked it up because it involved Donald Trump and was a chance for him to get skewed. And that really was the first time that he got some really bad publicity publicly, that they put the spotlight on him, and it began there, I think.
And then they just destroyed your life and career.
That's right. He got on the list.
No, it's all good. I do miss that.
But that was much earlier than you starting to do cartoons for the New Yorker, though.
Yeah, I mean that was when I was doing illustration for different magazines, and I was working for like Real Simple magazine. I was doing my bread and butter was making money doing redesign for places like Boston Globe. Boston Globe would hire me to redesign their sports section. That was a huge account, and then I was able to do some more fun jobs.
Well, that's wonderful.
It's actually very sad because I think of all the magazines that are gone now, like 7 Days you mentioned, and places like that.
Boy, Bob, those redesigns really worked out well, didn't they?
All right. You want to introduce our first guest? We have a guest.
We have a guest?
Yeah, we have Michael. Guest? We're going to introduce Michael.
Oh,
because he's going to answer the questions, but we should set this up in a way.
Okay.
Let's do this properly. Our first guest has been on the cartoon pad more than any other cartoonist. His cartoons have appeared in the New Yorker since 1999, and his work has also been in the New Yorker Book of Literary Cartoons, the Complete Cartoons of the New Yorker, the Rejection Collection 1 and 2, the New Yorker Encyclopedia of Cartoons, the Ultimate Cartoon Book Series, and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I'm going to cut it right there. He also just wrote The Elements of Stress, which was published by Humorist Books. And I actually had a hand in that. There you go, Michael. Look at that.
Bob. You forgot to mention my first publication was for the Athenian, Greece's largest English language magazine, which I sold a spot drawing in 1980 of a waiter carrying some drinks on a tray. And I was quite pleased at that point.
Well, thanks for the added energy you put in that story.
Yeah.
The only thing we're missing now from this podcast is like some sexual tension. Let's go straight to the first question. I'll go first. We got some questions sent in. This first question, they asked that we not reveal their identity, as it's a big name artist. So I'm just going to use their first name.
Can you just use their first name?
I'm just going to use their first name.
How about this? Use their real name, but change the first letter of each first and last name with a W.
All right, thanks for making that simple.
Okay.
So what is the apparent huge appeal of the webtoon Poorly Drawn Lines all about? I've tried to understand it through its Facebook comments, but no luck. Thanks, Roz. No, I'm only kidding. It wasn't. No, I'm only kidding. It wasn't Roz.
It's Charles Rast.
Okay, do either one of you know what Poorly Drawn Lines is?
Hell no, other than my own.
No, it's it's good. It has 2 million followers, which is more followers than we have together, Michael. But about 200.
Together.
Yeah, like 2 million more. And I see the appeal. I'm going to answer this question first. I'm going to dive in, and then Michael, you can add if you wish. There's a gridlock of style with cartoons, and Poorly Drawn Lines to me has this attitude and provides a different style. It has a new world to escape to, and that's no different than when George Booth came on the scene and he created a new world. So I think there's a great appeal when a cartoon could do that and just create a new world. I think that the question was maybe working off of the old criteria of crafting a joke.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to do that, to stand out the way you have to from all the other cartoon styles is you have to be just totally out funny above all the others. You just can't do that now. I mean, because like everything else in this ass backwards country, nobody can even agree on what's funny. So to say that something is like blatantly funnier than everything else, I think it's really hard. And that's where Poorly Drawn Lines makes a distinction. It's really in its own corner. And if
Bob,
you just check it out.
Can you give us an example?
I can't, because the work is not like a traditional gag cartoon. That's why it stands out. If you go to Instagram, you could just type in Poorly Drawn Lines. But it's a very graphic looking cartoon, very flat. And I can see how it appeals to younger generations because it's very simplified and it doesn't leave much to, any cryptic messages or any type of mystery of what the joke is. So I hope.
I'm going to Instagram right now. I'll be back.
Yeah, for the person who sent in, I hope that kind of answered the question. I do like that person.
Roz, thanks for that question.
And that person who wrote in, I like their work, but I have to say, their work is funny, but their style could be mistaken for other cartoonists. So I think that there's something to be said for someone who's just,
Poorly Drawn Lines. Okay, I'm looking.
Marty, you're a cartoon editor. Do you see the thinking behind what my answer was?
Yes, I think. I don't know. I'm not a great cartoon editor. I just I pick things that are funny, and if the pictures look good, and that's pretty much the criteria.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't. There's no batches for the New Yorker this week, so I'm trying to break into that market, the Weekly Humorist.
So yeah. I'll
let you in, maybe.
I'm looking at Poorly Drawn Lines, and there's a snail wearing sunglasses, and the first caption is, "I'm not just a snail in sunglasses. I own multiple pairs in different styles." And I have to say, I'm going to completely disagree with you, Bob, as usual. And this really reminds me of Nancy. These are just Nancy's.
You said sunglasses on a snail.
Yes, but if you look at the drawing, they're just very simple, repetitive, very droll. Okay, there's a fish.
So are you giving this a thumbs down?
No, but I'm just saying it's not a different world. It's just a reiteration of many worlds that have come before it. It's just the next version of it.
I agree what you said, but I think that's still a valid point of creating a different world. Everything's based on something else. There's no one who's going to be, if you're totally original, you're going to lose your audience. You have to have some familiar ground for someone to sort of grab hold to. Would you agree with that?
I have 2 words for you. Futzy Nutzel. Everyone who's listening, both of you guys, look up Futzy Nutzel. My sensibilities as a cartoonist. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very well put, I guess. We have 2 questions from a Sarah Morissette, who's a New Yorker cartoonist. And I'm just going to start with this one after you totally put a bow on the last question.
Thank you.
The question I ask myself is why I keep drawing all these cartoons that will probably never see the light of day. Is it a compulsion? A need to make people laugh? A challenge? Because it certainly isn't for the big bucks. I guess I'm wondering what motivates people at the beginning and makes them want to continue after many years of rejection and few sales.
Okay, I have some answers. Yes, no, yes, maybe. Keep trying.
Oh, good God. Okay, well, I'll answer this question. I'm going to let you answer her second question, which is my answer is that everyone says they love cartooning, and we love cartooning, and people say, I would do this even if I wasn't paid. But I don't know if that's actually true. If you weren't going to be published somewhere, and if someone didn't see your cartoons, if you really would do it. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody would really cartoon if they said they had zero audience. But there is a prize. I know that when I got into the New Yorker, the first time it was very exciting. I mean, you appear alongside the likes of like Leo Cullum and Michael Maslin and others, kind of an honor. And I think that thrill, that rush, carries you over to want to get in again. And it's exciting to see it in print. It was more so back then when you were next to legends, but it's a validation thing. I mean, with me, it's like getting, love me daddy. Yeah, trying to get my father's approval. Not that the likelihood of that happening now is very strong. It would require a seance, but
or a shovel.
I'm always thinking in terms of, when I'm doing cartoons, I'm always thinking, this is a cartoon that's going to make my dad laugh and finally say that, oh, he's funny. And I was always chasing that.
I'm going to say it's a not unhealthy compulsion. So I was just looking up Henry Darger Jr. Is it Jr. or Henry Darger? Are you familiar with him?
Yeah, thanks for staying on subject.
I am. So he was an outside artist and he was a writer. And his one book, The Realms of the Unreal, was 15,145 pages, bound in 15 immense, densely typed volumes that never saw the light of day. I think it all got thrown in a dumpster and someone found it.
No. It was on display. I saw it I'm a big fan of his. At the Museum of the American Folk Art Museum had retrieved a lot of his work. And they did a big exhibit of his work about 10 years ago. That it gets a little bit different there, though, because that work is not meant for public consumption. It's actually quite scary. And he is an outsider artist. That's like sort of
right. But my point is, if you're sending in cartoon after cartoon and it's never getting published, it's not meant for outside consumption either. You're fulfilling some internal need to express yourself and send it out. So it's sort of like the message in the bottle. So the action of doing that is just as important as it getting published. The publishing, the ultimate unattainable goal or attainable. But I have no problem with that.
It's interesting you say that because I think some people would just say that's part of the process to reaching creative heights. Is that that you have to do a certain amount of those cartoons, and getting rejected is part of it. And it's like sort of that thing, you have to do something 1,000 times before you perfect it. So you're saying it's not that as much as the motivation that's driving you is the compulsion.
Yes, you've got to be a bit compulsive. I mean, there's no way you can't be.
I just had an email from someone who's trying to watch us live. This guy named Jerry Fisher, and hopefully he'll be able to get to the YouTube or the Facebook and ask us a question.
Hi, Jerry.
I don't know if he's watching yet, but when he is watching, Jerry, if you're watching, type a comment and we'll put it up on the screen so I know that you figured out how to get to us here. But that was only a minute ago. So,
well, Michael, we took apart Sarah's question, but what is the answer though? What do you tell someone to comfort them when they say she's asking herself the same question we all ask ourselves on a late Sunday night when we have to come up with the rest of the batch? We say, is this worth it?
Well, Mr. Mankoff said that some dreams should never die. So if this is your dream, there's no reason for you to kill it. There's plenty of other people that will kill it for you. So I say draw on. Draw on, all you cartoonists. Get those images down. There's one more guy in the desert cartoon that needs to be published.
Yeah, well, my thing I say to my students is that you don't have to do it for a living. If you
I never have, so that's true.
You put that type of pressure on yourself.
Yeah,
it changes everything, and it's not actually helping you being more creative.
But I'm going to do something that I probably have never done before and agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, don't.
It's true.
Don't cut that out.
I'm not cutting any. None of this is getting edited.
All right, Marty.
And,
this whole thing about it being live is very.
It's never getting edited ever again.
It's very funny that you say we're going live. We get the joke. It's over. You got your little joke in. Thank you. Okay, Michael. Here's Sarah's next question.
Sounds like my girlfriend.
I know.
Be ready. Be ready.
Be ready.
Come on, Michael.
Hold on.
Okay. How does one find that thing that defines them? Is it a hunch that eventually becomes more clearly defined over time, or is it a conscious decision? Does one say, I want to create moody and dark and mysterious cartoons, or silly and light cartoons? Same question with visual style. Or are very conservative looking or warped, twisted, and scratchy? Oh my goodness. All right, so there's 8 questions here. Let's just skip to the last questions. How does one reach that point? Does it evolve, or has it been by some deliberate change, drawing a new look?
I'm gonna answer that with next question. So I have a question.
All right.
I would say edit that and get back to us.
Okay.
But
I'm going to edit it right now for you. She wants to know, how does a person know? And I'm sorry, Sarah, because you didn't sound
come on, Sarah, get it together.
Long-winded here at all. It's me.
No,
I said it in a way that wasn't dramatic. The point she's making is, when does a person have some self-awareness of what their style is? Is it a conscious decision, or does it evolve? And Michael, with you, was there a point in you realizing when your style became your style?
Yes, and when I was told how to draw. I was told by the New Yorker to not draw funny. Do not draw funny. Now, so everyone out there, don't draw funny. Just draw. Don't try to be funny. If you try to be funny, you're not.
All right,
it's painful.
I see what you're saying, but
just do your best to draw the thing you're trying to draw.
Not even your best. Just you could try your best. I mean, I eliminated fingers and wrists. It was easier.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
If you look at my drawings, there's parts missing. Because I didn't want to draw them.
There are some parts missing.
Michael, listen, you're answering one part of the question of what you were told, but at the time you were told, did you know that you were making that sort of decision and you were going down a road and you knew that your style was the right voice for you?
Well, if I wanted to sell a cartoon, it was. So hell yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking to Sarah.
This is not complicated.
Well, I'm speaking to Sarah now, which is also.
I love that cartoon that I sent to Marty, by the way.
Don't you love all the cartoons that you do?
No.
Oh, look at all these ads that all of a sudden we're getting on the screen.
Some of them I like.
Cha-ching. Don't just stand there, throw it in the pot. Don't go to Michael's house for dinner. Who knows what's going to be in there?
You took out your donkey. Don't just stand there, you donkey. Throw it in the pot.
I know. I didn't get the donkey thing. I guess is that a very?
It's supposed to be Gordon Ramsay.
Right.
I'm going to do a spin-off of Sarah's question, which is,
Sarah's had her moment. We're moving on.
Oh, well, then let me. Okay, come on.
Is this like some friend of yours?
No, she is now because she has been on the podcast. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to give a shout out to her website.
Which podcast?
This podcast, you imbecile. She was on this podcast just now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. She wasn't a guest. She wasn't a guest on the podcast.
Yes, Sarah Morissette is
a lot of OTC, over-the-counter medications.
Oh, Sarah Morissette, the cartoonist.
No,
I thought you meant Alanis Morissette. She's so angry.
There's a cartoonist.
Yeah, okay. No, let me give out her website.
I apologize.
Yes, let me give out her website. It is Morissette at AT-, and the way we spell Morissette is the usual way, ETTE at .at. That's where it is. So check out our work.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
Oh,
a little too ironic. Oh, that's Alanis Morissette.
Michael, hit us.
I have a question. No, I get to do the next question.
Please.
Okay. So this comes from a Beth Lawler, administrator, New Yorker cartoon caption contest rejects parentheses and enthusiast close parentheses. And she asks simply, crisply, to pun or not to pun? That is the question. Bob?
Well, I'll give a quick answer. I mean, anything that works, if it's hilariously funny, you can do and break any rule you want.
Yeah.
But in general, puns tend to be dumbed down. And what happens is that you are not allowing the reader to engage in like how to have that eureka moment. If you can do a cartoon that a person can kind of get, but they have to test themselves to make it work. It's not so, blatantly simple. I think that's more satisfying for the viewer, and puns don't supply that.
Marty?
To pun or not to pun? I think it's, I think it totally depends on the pun. It totally depends on the cartoon. Some just aren't funny, or some are too hard to... a lot of times a joke that's very sound related, it's a joke that has to be told, does not work as a cartoon because it is being read in your mind and looked at on a piece of paper, it doesn't work. So it totally depends on the joke. If it's a joke that's based on the pronunciation of a word, difficult if you're reading it.
I agree. I mean, I think most people don't really understand what a pun is, because the pun is based on exploiting the meanings of words and messing them
like today
around.
On the Weekly Humorist hashtag game, which is basically a pun game, we always have a dumb thing, a joke to start with, and it was surly cereals. So it was like apple jerks or strife cereal or honey smack.
Go to hell flakes.
Yes. Raisin hell bran.
I want you to die, granola.
All it is wordplay. So it's just like a crazy amount of puns, and it's like thousands of puns come throwing, on Twitter at every Wednesday at 11 on this hashtag game. It's just a flood, and it's fun because everybody some people have the exact same ideas. So you'll see the exact same joke 1,000 times, but then you'll see some people who are really out of the box thinkers, and they'll come up with something that's so funny. And I love that. And it's just a fun game to play, but it's definitely, it's a muscle that you have to flex. And it's not, a joke writing pun, like that, a little pun joke muscle.
Illustrated.
It's not. I do an illustrated. I'll take the best joke out of our writers. That's the easiest to do, and I'll make an image to go with it to launch the game. So it'll be there'll be an accompaniment. So I did a parody design of Strife cereal with a pissed off child. And that was
Mikey. He hates it.
Exactly.
So my thing is that most of the pun cartoons I see aren't puns. They're like, I just went pun cartoon and looked at the first one that popped up, and it was like a bunch of balloons and one's deflated, and the caption is "Stand back, give him air," which is not a pun. It's just a visual joke because it's a deflated balloon. So I've made a few attempts at puns. My favorite being this Buddhist monk at the hot dog stand, and he says, "Make me one with everything." But that's
I like
not.
That.
Yeah, no, but that's not a pun.
I'm not saying I'm not saying it isn't. It's good. Do you think there's such a thing as like visual? There's visual puns, of course, but those are totally good.
They're very rare. They're hard. I don't know. You see things like, if you go back and look at very early cartoons, there'll be like a pair full of matches that had all these matches poked at it, and it'll say, "Oh, well, matched pair."
This is our Strife cereal.
Oh, Lord.
A little pissed off.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I did Mom's Wipe. Now
Cat
with
and
more
Grouch.
saliva.
Grumpy Nut Cheerios, Brazen Bran. I think Scorn Flakes is a good one. Scorn was a good one overall for anything that had the word corn in it. Yeah, but puns are good. But smarter jokes, always probably do a little bit better.
It depends on the venue. If it's for kids,
yeah.
If it's for kids, it's great.
That's true. Like Kit Lively and Dave DeGrand had a great kids book that was wordplay, jokes, riddles, gags, and stuff, and it was for kids. So it was tons of jokes, puns, funny thing like knock knocks, and it was for kids. So it was it was written at a level that was, but it was still funny. It's still funny. It was still clever.
Yes. So we're gonna say to Beth, hold the puns. You'll save some carbs.
Okay. Do I have any good puns up here right now? I don't know. These are some good ones. This is a Jeff Hobbs. This is a
let's see.
Drew Pancree. This is Dan Mistia, who's very funny. Oh, this was hilarious too. I actually got this cartoon pitched to me right as my dad was making an appointment at a ENT, which is an ear, nose, and throat, which I really wasn't that familiar with. And they pitched this to me, and it was an ear, nose, and throat. And then next door, the doctor is putting up ear, nose, throat, and arms.
I like it.
Always funny. It's always there are so many different ways to make a cartoon. There's so many different ways to have a joke, and there's so many different angles to jokes and different types of humor. Like there's a big variety in the New Yorker and on Airmail and on Weekly Humorist where there can be a lot of topics, like we could all have things with dogs in them, but these are drastically different dog cartoons, right?
Yes, I did one. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a favorite trope. He said, she said, prehistoric caveman, cavewoman sitting next to a fire, and the woman saying, "Now you should discover fiber."
Good God!
Because he's just eating a stick. So we have Vom Red coming in from Con Gray. Did you see that?
I did. I don't know what it means, so I'm not going to put it on the screen because it doesn't. I don't know if it makes any sense. But thank you for the comment.
Paste that into their browser and see if they get a virus.
Yeah, I think that actually might happen. So we're not going to do that.
Cool.
But if people are watching and have any comments or questions, they can put them up on the screen if they just type them into whatever the chat is on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or Snitch or to Twitter, or I don't know what people are on. But
I should explain that I'm hearing from people who are saying that they wanted to join us. They haven't found the link. I'm sharing the link now.
The link is literally anywhere you go. That's a Weekly Humorist social media platform.
Yeah, so I shared that on Twitter and Facebook, but people can listen to this taped, and that's fine too. Mm-hmm. We got some more questions. Michael, why don't you go with another question before I go into my pile?
Okay. Bob, can we look forward to seeing any of your work in the upcoming rejection collection?
No.
Okay, good.
I was rejected.
It got rejected. There's going to be another book that's just going to be a pile of papers on the floor, and that is the rejected collection, rejected pile.
I was rejected.
And that's just going to be balled up pieces of paper. Issue.
And
balled up pieces of paper in the garbage is where you're going to find Bob's new collection of the rejection collection, rejected.
Thank you for bringing up a very painful part of my life.
Oh, well, I'm only doing that because I am in the rejection collection.
Oh, well, bully for you.
I know. And I was contacted by Matt Diffie to resend my signature at higher resolution.
Oh, well, la-di-da.
I'm feeling a cover, honestly. So,
wow.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth, for that question.
You could be the top rejected cartoon.
No, I won't be, but I was amused by that.
And I think it's funny that he's asking for your signature, and this is your signature. Your signature is ridiculous. This thing right here, this little squiggle, is what he's getting at a higher resolution.
You want an inscrutable signature. Bob has a very nice signature, but it's too easy to read.
This looks like you sneezed while you happen to be holding a pen, is what
it is true that
cartoons look like.
Your first cartoon you sell, and whatever signature that is, you're stuck with it. You can't change it.
Yeah.
You could change it every cartoon if you wish. Who cares? I mean, no one notices. You could change it each time.
Bob.
I got lazy when I would be doing illustrations for New York Press, and I did some for a bunch of magazines, Progressive Magazine and stuff. I would have just a signature that I liked, and I would just copy and paste it over and over again. And I would change the hue sometimes. So it looked like sometimes it was matching some of the colors that were in the color illustration, but it was always Marty Dundick's written it the exact same way. I did it like maybe 1 or 2 times in the very beginning. And then I was like, enough of this. And I was just like, I did insert it in the side. I had the same signature I would use forever. I would end up just like, I would put it on official forums. I'd just be like, copy paste.
I've actually redrawn cartoons because I screwed up the signature.
That's an illusion cartoonists have, is that people would take notice of that, and people would note. Only ever cartoonists would know how people sign their cartoons and stuff.
No, I vehemently disagree. I think your signature A from which the cartoon springs.
You know, I
Especially
remember
yours, Bob.
I'm gonna repeat a story I've said on the podcast before. I took this attitude from another cartoonist. I remember when Pete Holmes was a cartoonist, and he came into the green room filled with cartoonists, and there was all the different veterans and rookies and all different people sitting waiting to go see Bob Mankoff over at the building at 42nd Street to show their badges. And Pete Holmes announced, does anyone in this room realize that no one cares who's doing the cartoons, or that no one matters outside this room? That people don't know the names and the different things of the cartoons. And he was explaining that, this whole pressure of like, they'll be remembered for this or remembered for that. He said, it's not true. I think that is the case.
You think I don't think that is the case now, though.
I don't think people remember different things. I get asked questions all the time at panels and stuff, like about the cartoons, and they all think that because I'm a cartoonist that I'm responsible and know of all the other cartoons. They lump everyone together. No one ever says, like, we know a PCV cartoon. And there's people who do the
And you don't know them all, Bob? Come on, you should know all these cartoons by memory.
Well, we know them, but it's just
the fans remember the cartoons. You don't have to, because you're a talent. So talent should only have to really be responsible for their cartoons.
No, but only in our little group do we realize that the group of cartoons in the magazine is not a collective thing, but it's all individuals. We could pick out the individuals, but it's more than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think there's more awareness than you're giving credit to. I think there's a core of avid fans, and then there's like concentric circles out there of vaguer awareness, because I've heard people say to me, doesn't just one person draw all those? Isn't that just
that's what I mean. I mean, I'm saying that the only person who's a household name, and I think this was Pete Holmes who has said this too, is Raj Chaz. Everyone else kind of almost gets lumped in together. And then Pete was saying to the group, because no one else outside this room knows each other. They don't know the individual styles and stuff. And I'm not saying that, we shouldn't take great pride in it. I'm just saying that's a fact. And it's something to consider, is that we're kind of working in a bubble.
So that's why you started drawing like Saul Steinberg.
I think that it's almost as if cartoonists on Instagram who are super popular are there, they can be in the New Yorker, and that's great now, but it's almost secondary. If you're really popular in this whole world, it doesn't, regardless if we're talking about cartoonists or not, if you are now a influencer on Instagram, you are your own brand. So, and that translates to everything. So if you're a cartoonist who is an influencer of the cartoon world, you don't even need a magazine anymore. Like, the magazine is just a platform. The magazine is just the place that publishes you. But if you are so popular on Instagram that you have your own subscribers, you have a subscriber base that can rival a magazine, right? So an individual, an artist, a musician, a model, or whatever, they're their own brand. And that I see that with cartoonists now too. Like Ellis is crazy popular, and many of them are breaking out, and they're able to just be like, they're their own thing. If whether you have your own cartoon, it's become like you don't need that springboard of a New Yorker or an Airmail. Like, you don't need, like, it's almost like they need you. It becomes a reverse reciprocal, type relationship with some of the things now with the internet.
Bob,
anyway.
Bob, we should do that.
Yeah, we should. Why not? We should be.
Check out that
You know what I
Instagram.
think? No, I think you guys should become popular. That's what I think.
I think so too.
That's what I think is missing.
I want to see a line. I want to see a line of socks with your cartoons on them. I want to have like a tote bag. I think that would be great. And,
I was on a tote bag. I was on the tote bag for the fundraiser for the semi-serious documentary.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Which cartoon?
It was the guy that was about to get his head chopped off, and he's got his head on the post, and he's holding this recycling bag. He goes, "I brought my own bag."
That's good. Do you do any cartoons that you don't amputate a body part?
Tongue? No. I don't know. You've got me there. All right,
let me give you an easier question. I got some questions there just for you. Here's one right now.
Let's call this the lightning round.
Yeah, lightning round. Right. This is like word association, except let's make sense of it. Most underrated cartoonist. Who?
Me.
Okay. In order of
all of us except Roz. How's that?
In order of preference, honest answer.
Yes.
Would you rather be the smartest, the richest, or the funniest person in the world?
Ooh. Yeah, Rich. What the hell?
You're not funny then at all, though. You're not
Who
making
cares?
anyone laugh.
Who cares? I'm the richest person on earth. Come on.
Oh, see now, come on. Don't you think you do the cartoons? We were talking earlier about motivation. Don't you think it's because you have like this thing you just want to make people laugh sometimes?
I could have that thing anyway. If I had all the money in the world, I could have all the thing.
So you're hiring gag writers?
I would hire
Everything changes with age. The older you get, the more you know that the more you wish you had money. You're like,
I would be the Elon
anything
Musk.
would be easier with money. When I was young, I was like, I don't need money.
All right, Morty.
Money is the root of all evil. And then now I'm old, and I'm like, God, everything would be better if I just had money.
If you gave me the choice between smart and funny, I'd go funny.
All right. Let me ask Reverend Morty there.
Choice between smart and funny and money,
Morty,
I go money.
What are you picking, Morty? Richest, funniest, or smartest?
To be what?
The person, the funniest person in the world.
I would rather be the richest person in the world.
Hell yeah!
Funniest. Who cares?
Just be honest.
You can buy gag writers.
I could hire some very funny writers to give me great lines.
Michael, you hear that? There's some spillover for you.
I'm poor, and I still hired gag writers when I would have to host guaranteed delivery, and I needed funny lines. I was like a Bob Hope. I got AJ DiScamino, who's a writer for Weekly Humorist in the New Yorker, and I remember asking, I was like, I got to host this thing, and I have no jokes. And he wrote me like 10 jokes.
Oh my God.
I could only use like 2 of them.
You just reminded me. I have to get in touch with AJ. I remember talking to him ages ago, and I haven't been.
So funny. AJ's hilarious. What a funny guy.
Is he still doing stand-up?
I mean, I think a lot of stand-up stuff stopped during COVID, but he's still doing like funny videos and stuff. And he's writing. I mean,
it's fascinating that Bob Hope was one of the richest men in Hollywood, had a army of gag writers, and he still wasn't funny.
Bob Hope was hilarious. Are you kidding me?
He was funny.
America's sweetheart.
Yeah, let me tell you, Bob Hope. I've heard friends tell me stories of how he would, he'd bring all these women to be on the army shows and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he'd blackmail them. He'd say he'd leave them in like Vietnam or something if they didn't go to bed with him.
Well, this just took a turn. This took a very sharp right turn.
He was notorious for that.
All right.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Bob pre 1954 was really funny. Bob post 1954 was just
What happened in 1954?
I don't know. I made that number up. I didn't make it up. It sort of segued out of the road shows and his radio shows, and then started doing those kind of tired.
So what do we have? We have about 10 minutes left here, guys.
Okay, let's bring it back.
Let's bring this back. Come on. Let's have some fast questions.
All right, Michael. No, let me come up with a question for you again. Michael, what are 2 perfect books to give this Valentine's Day?
Bob, you might know that. I'm gonna pass that one back to you.
Oh my God. It's The Elements of Stress.
Right.
And All's Fair in Love and War. 2 books in which both Michael and I have featured heavily. the books would have been big hits if they were banned in Tennessee or something. We need your love. It is a great Valentine's gift, especially for people who are divorced and single, because we tear down all the.
You need to laugh. You
need to laugh, but also the
when you're
cartoons
just sitting
are about
alone in your house, you just need to laugh because it's all you can do.
Yeah, the books on the cartoon book, All Is Fair in Love and War, it features Michael heavily. And so it's all about despair and dealing with separation and everything else.
I think we have that on our bookshop.org weekly humorist funny books for Valentine's Day list. So if people want to go to bookshop.org and they can find the weekly the humorist books page, and we have a featured list I think on their homepage with I think both of those books along with some other hilarious romantic Valentine's comedy books.
Excellent. Yep. Humorist books is the place to be.
Yeah, get some books. Pick up these books. You can get all these books on Amazon Bookshop, or you can go to humoristbooks.com for appropriate links and whatnot.
Let me squeeze in a question from Patty. I'm going to handle this one, Michael. This is, Can you recommend a specific used iPad model in which I can use Procreate? I'll just answer it really quickly. That Procreate is the digital painting program on iPads. Patty, you want to get an iPad that is the one that comes with the Apple Pencil because you want to use it directly on the screen. And that means you want to get the iPads that are the medium size or the larger size. Our producer, Marty, has gotten an iPad, and he's going to chime in.
I would say get the larger one. I got the smaller one, and I returned it. And it's only a little bit more expensive, but it's much more worth it because it's much bigger. It's like 12 inches, I think. And the Apple Pencil, I got the Apple Pencil 2. And there's a 1, but get the 2. It's better. And then get the iPad Pro. It came out like last year. You don't have to get the one that's this year, but get the one that's, I think it's last. Whatever one works with the Apple Pencil 2. Just check that. Check the compatibility.
That's right. Yeah.
As long as it works with the Apple Pencil 2, you're good to go. So you can probably go like one model or two models old, and you'll still be okay. And you can get it on Amazon. You can get one of those refurbished ones. It'll be like $400 cheaper. It's totally fine, and they're warranted and everything if it's like certified refurbished. And I love it. God, I love that Procreate with that Apple Pencil 2. I just sold for the first time in 15 years. I went on Craigslist, and I had a drafting table here. And I sold it on Craigslist for $20. It was like a $200 drafting table. I just wanted to get rid of it. So I put it for $20, and people immediately emailed me and came and picked it up. And it was great. And so I have some kid who went to Harvard for painting, and he's in the city, and he's getting back into studio art. And I guess he lives in my neighborhood, and he saw it on Craigslist. Came right over, picked it up. 2 seconds. Great.
Sorry, Marty. I'd like to add that Sharpie makes a new retractable pen. 0.07 line. Very sharp. Very
Michael,
Sharpie.
You bring up a good point, though. A lot of people think that they have to have Procreate to do the new work. I think the tool is less important than people think. Procreate's great. People always assume that I'm working in Photoshop and Procreate. I've never done a piece in either software. So it's not necessary, but if it makes you happy and that's the best tool for you, then dive in. And Marty, I want to ask you, you do use Procreate and you like it. And so you want to make just a feedback on that from your experience?
I love Procreate. I'm a Photoshop Adobe person on my computer, but then the Procreate app is very good, and all the different brush options and the weight of the Apple Pencil and the layers, and it's really flexible with exporting it in, if you want to do it as a PDF or as a PSD layered Photoshop file or as a TIFF or whatever. Really easy to export. I really like the colors. I'm doing some freelance book illustration for Mr. Bob right here. And it's incredible. I love it. It's so much faster than, I would do transparent oil on paper back when I did New York Press and magazine stuff. And it was great. I loved the way it looked, but I'd have to scan it and then clean it up, and then my scanner would get covered in oil paint. And it was just like this. It was messy. It took forever. And with the iPad Pro, with the Procreate, I can do something that would take me hours or days. I can do it in like an hour, and it's great. And I get to sit in my lap, and I love it.
All right, thanks, Morty, and thanks, Patty, for bringing the question, and I hope that helped you. Michael?
That was Tech Talk, yes.
Yeah, why don't you bring us to old school? You have any more questions before we sign off we could jump in with?
Something old school.
Yeah, and while you're looking, let me remind everyone that we will be back, whether people like it or not, and despite what people requested, we are going to come back. And yeah.
Bob, what's your favorite trope? If you had to choose a trope, troping the light fantastic.
I think that some tropes have to be put to sleep because something like the Grim Reaper, I think it's just too much of a memory of what we all have been through in the last 2 or 3 years. There are just some tropes that become offensive at some point or just expire. What do you think?
I like the tropes that's the easiest to draw. So I
Snowmen.
Go with
Snowmen are very easy to draw.
Yeah, I like what's but that's not a trope.
No, I'm trying to make it one.
But trope what makes a setup cross the line into tropian territory?
I would say just like repeated, like the therapist. Being at the therapist is a trope. Sitting at the bar is a trope.
But I'm not sure the tropes right now is the answer, because the thing is we're all getting a little tired. There's like a fatigue, and I feel like if we're gonna break in, and people are always telling me, they want to get into New Yorker, and they're having, there's some people want to get back in, and it is hard. And I'm trying to be positive and say, look, the left side of the infield is wide open. Like as if there's a metaphor of what's going on now in the gag cartooning landscape. There's this big shift in the infield. There's a whole type of cartoon it's wide open there for you to hit a ball down the left side or whatever. Yeah. And if you could find that thing and not rely as a crutch and using a trope or using a style that maybe has been considered already done, I think that would be the solution. It's there for anyone to go into. You just have to come up with that.
Can you describe that shift? Is this like a pull hitter? I mean,
well, I don't want to say explicitly. I think a lot of people would know what I mean stylistically with the cartoons. Like there is a certain look and stuff and a certain sensibility that shows up. And it's just common sense when you see a cartoon that stands out as being something different. It makes it feel fresh. And there is right now opportunity. I'm trying to say something positive, that there's opportunity for someone to come along who's going to have a totally different voice. And so they're not going to use tropes if they can help it. I mean, you can do a new look on a trope anytime, but it takes a great, great cartoon to make a trope feel fresh. So maybe tropes are not necessarily the way to go.
Didn't Edward Steed sort of travel that,
That's a good example.
Opposite hitter kind of guy. His stuff all looks like it's out of a Dostoevsky novel.
I agree. And
it's like Russian peasants. Yeah, Russian peasants wearing high heel boots, beating a donkey.
Yeah, he's got a certain Eastern Bloc look that was that got away from the magazine. But Liana Fink, to me, reflects a sort of the sensibility of being very personal, being raw, and trying to, even drawings depict something that I'm being very personal. I'm opening myself up to you.
So
I think that's an appeal.
I actually did a cartoon. I took a Liana Fink character, which was a woman, and then I took a Edward Steed character, which was this kind of troll-looking dude, and I had them walking hand in hand in the park. Then I had this old couple sitting in the park bench, and the guy says, "I remember when we were young and quirky." And it's the ultimate inside cartoon.
Well, keeping with the metaphor, that's very inside baseball, though.
Yes, but
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that myself, and I don't practice what I preach, because when I say I should do something different, I don't think my cartoons have been fresh, and as a result, I'm not seeing success because I am going back to the tropes. I'm using crutches, and I'm not doing the things that I should be doing to kind of come up with something that's going to the opposite field.
I would just like to say we have a comment in from Paul Nesja saying, "Love Edward Steed." Okay. I'm sure that's in the sacred manner of love. And I have a question from him that I think we can all answer. He asked, briefs or boxers? Bob.
Who does? Paul did?
Paul did.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Well, I'll let you answer that, Michael. Go ahead.
Commando.
I knew
Yeah,
you said that.
it's got to be Commando.
Got to be Commando.
All right, what's another question?
My good friend Bob Jacobs asks, son, because he always calls me son, when are you going to learn to draw? He's serious, Marty.
Yeah, I know he's serious.
I wish I could draw like you. I like your style of drawing. I really do.
I never learned it. It's not learned.
It is effortless because there's no effort.
No, it's like a virus. It's like you.
Well, no. Let's be honest here, though. You know, the thing is that your drawings definitely have a vanishing point and perspective, and I do not see all the new cartoonists use those sort of principles. And so there are things that you do in your drawing. There's a lot right going on. So I don't want to just dismiss it as a joke. I am one of your biggest fans of your work. So anybody going to knock your work, even if it's you, I'm going to start throwing some punches.
Oh my!
Yeah, I
there
got.
We go. Look, there's perspective. I'm more into sfumato and chiaroscuro myself.
And also, what the hell does that mean?
Oh, I don't know. I think they're types of pasta.
Jeez.
So, you know, there's like an Asian type of perspective where it doesn't go to a vanishing point, but it elevates.
And that's how you show space?
Yes.
You have it just going that way. Is that something you knew, or you're just kind of figuring that out?
I know that.
You knew that when you were doing that.
Yeah, so my stuff is very, very flat. You're a much superior, I'll even say this, much superior draftsman than I am. But I don't even try to do that. So I'm not going to compete at that level.
This is a bad example, because there's a lot of examples in which you do have a perspective and vanishing point. It's also very extreme how you pick the vanishing point to all the way to the left and all the way to the right, and seldom in the center, which is not my preference. Someone like Matt Diffie uses a central vanishing point often, as opposed to you having it way to one side or the other.
I tend to think of my drawings as being on a stage, actually. So I think a very shallow space. I don't think my cartoons are happening in real life.
Well, you know, you work within your own playground. You build a world in which you have your own rules. For instance, let's say Michael Maslin, who I'm friends with, I know. So I know his work a lot, so I'm going to just mention his as an example. And that is, he has almost a slight bird's eye view in which you're looking down, and the ground plays a role in his cartoon setup.
Oh, now Paul says he loves... Sorry, Paul now says he loves our cartoons as well. So we love Paul.
Now he wants a favor or something. Paul is, as people know, is always asking people for money. And
I think I owe him a crypto caption. Paul, it's in the mail. I promise.
Paul's really good with words and captions, and he's a person who's been a multi-finalist in the caption cartoon. So, and I really, Paul's really sharp. I hope that, Paul. Yeah, I think that's enough log rolling there.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you guys got coming up? We're going to wrap this up, but what do you guys have coming up this week in the world of cartoons, Bob? Are you still having any of your sit-down chat meetings with your little round table at a diner and coffee and going through batches with the guys?
No, actually, we've been kind of dispersed. People are actually very worried, and they're trying to keep their distance. And everyone knows somebody who got sick again. Yep. So, and on top of it,
do you guys do things on Zoom to kind of?
No, people got exhausted from that. I mean, I've been doing I'm doing work on some other projects. I'm working on illustrating some books. Mm-hmm. I'm working on a textbook in Portugal on the existence of God, and that's a philosophy book for college. I'm also working on another textbook on bigotry, and that's a very high-tech book, but it's going to be illustrated with gag cartoons. And in all these books, I'm asked to bring in humor to very dry, difficult topics that are hard to grapple with. I'm doing another book on death. So these are all subjects that initially don't seem like it's possible to inject humor, but that's why I'm being brought in.
We had a nice comment from Jerry Fisher. He enjoyed the podcast, the live.
Way to go, Jay Fish.
Yeah.
Spending a lot.
That was his first and last time.
No, he'll be back for the next one.
He'll be back.
And
he's
Jerry,
he's actually our guest next week.
Go subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple and wherever else that we are.
Can we give a teaser and tell people who's coming up in the podcast? We have a couple of shows.
Ed's coming up. We have Ed that's been in the can for like 2 months, and I'm way late on putting up 2 shows. We have 2 shows to put up that were part of the first season, and those are going to go up. And
one of them is Neil Young.
We're going to have to put up a ton of new shows that we haven't recorded yet. So,
we're in our second season.
We can start doing the shows like this too. I kind of like this.
Bob's got to get a better haircut.
This is again with the hair. What we're going to do though is we want
Bob,
people
you got some in your teeth. You need to. Yeah.
Does he? No, that's just his mouth. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a missing tooth. That was when you and me got into that bar fight. That's another story for another podcast.
Oh my!
But, we do want people to write in, and we want to give out shout outs to people who are doing projects. If you're doing a book, you're doing something interesting in the cartoon world, we want to be a part of the cartoon community, give out a little love, get a little publicity, and let us know if you have any suggestions.
I have one more question from Mr. Steve McGinn.
McGinn.
Yes. Did Vip and Picasso really get into a nasty bar fight once? Something about eyes. And Vip, of course, was Virgil Parch. And I'm going to say, yeah, it happened. Thanks, Steve, for that question.
That was a good answer, Shaw.
Yeah.
It happened. Very thoughtful.
A good producer usually tries to fact check. And while that's going on, he should just check and see if that's, because some of these stories are going out there. And we have 2, 3 listeners, million visitors.
5. There's 5 people watching this live right now. If you can.
Okay, great. So, but when this gets taped and goes viral, we want to get our facts straight.
We're not going to have one moment edited out.
Good.
Paul likes the live podcast.
I also have an answer to Steve Stoliar, but I lost his question.
Then make one up. Steve's letting me know.
No, I answered it. I couldn't find the question, but yes, I have crumpled a few roughs into my charcoal chimney in a pinch. Thanks for checking in. The charcoal chimney, of course, is used to start your barbecue when you don't want the flavor of lighter fluid to influence the taste of your final product.
Nice commercial break. Nicely done. One day we have to do a podcast of just gossip where I just throw down.
You're the gossip. I got no gossip.
Yeah, I just heard recently from Bruce Eric Kaplan, and I heard yesterday from Bob Mankoff. So
you have some dirt that you want to dish?
No, people.
I don't think
people check in.
I don't want to spill too much tea. That's going to get us.
No, just people checking in. People like to know what other people are up to, though, and when it comes to that, I think we could share what people are working on, and just share what people have been up to. When people are asking, "Where is this person, that person?" and that's why we had Matt Diffie on once.
Yeah,
that was good to check in on him and what he's doing, even though he kept me out of his rejection book. As you could see, no harm, no grudge or anything. I've let it go, and I'm not bringing it up or anything.
It's only been, you've only brought it up 9 times. It's hard. You've hardly mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Odd Couple line.
Rejected.
The ultimate humiliation. Oscar and Felix gets chucked out of group therapy.
Bob's rejections can go into your fire starter thing, Shaw.
Is a rejected rejection and acceptance?
True story. I submitted 20 cartoons for the rejection collection. They were all rejected.
That is fit, not fit.
I'd like to end with, there was a question, is what's your favorite New Yorker cartoon? And I really don't have one, but since we've talked about Bruce Eric Kaplan, I really do enjoy his I Wish I Was a Better Speck of Dust cartoon. And it's just a little word balloon, and the last little bubble becomes the speck of dust. And, aren't we all specks of dust in the end?
And it tastes like chicken.
Yes.
Michael, I'm going to say my favorite Bruce Eric Kaplan cartoon of mine is when he has this couple walking down the street, and this woman looks exasperated and throws her arm in the air and says, "Do we have to like graphic novels now?" The blue. He makes it work. Anyone else does that?
I'm laughing.
Listen, all right. Well, let's end it there. Thanks
right,
everyone for listening to the Cartoon Pad. Thank you to Michael for being
Bob.
a trooper. Michael is a real trooper because he's heavily medicated right now and sedated. Marty, thanks for the good job you did of not having to edit anything and finding the shortcut.
And barely speaking. It's very nice
Marty.
to be here. No problem.
Marty, my wife loves your voice, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
She thinks you got a set of pipes on you, buddy.
Well, if she wants to tune in, I'll be doing Talkword, my podcast that I do without you two fools, on Thursdays at 3:00. So if she wants to tune in live, I'm talking to someone about their new book that I just had to read earlier today. So,
and who is that? Who's your guest?
It's an author named Haley McGee, and it is a book called The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale or something like that. So if people want to listen to Talkword Live, I'm on tomorrow, 3:00.
Are the ex-boyfriends buried in the yard? Sounds like a Stephen King.
I think that would be a very interesting twist, but I haven't gotten to that part of the book yet. So maybe they are all dead.
If you do
she's selling their organs, I don't know.
Exactly.
Who knows? Maybe.
If you do any ASMR, let me know.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's end it there, folks.
Oh, look at me! I have one of Bob Eckstein's rejected cartoons.
Yes. Here's my chimney. Here's my charcoal chimney. Let's eat some steak, people.
Good times, guys.
Okay.
Great oldies.
Words hurt.
Thanks for your time.
So let it be written, so let it be drawn. See you guys next week.